Good morning everyone and welcome to our live coverage of another mission launch from West Coast, Vandenberg Space Force Base, Space Launch Complex 4 East. We are awaiting for a Falcon 9 liftoff at 4 AM Eastern Time on 22nd May from California for SpaceX launching NROL-146 mission. Today's mission is NROL-146 for National Reconnaissance Office, also referred to as the NRO. Also, it's a joint venture of SpaceX and Northrop Grumman building the payload together. Today's flight carries a national security payload designed, built and operated by National Reconnaissance Office. NROL missions provide critical information to more than 500,000 government users, including every member of the intelligence community, 2 dozen domestic agencies, our national military, lawmakers and decision makers. Hello, my name is Dipta Maitra, performing the commentary for today's mission launch. We are super excited bringing you the coverage of NROL-146 launch and the 52nd launch of Falcon 9 just of this year. This will be the 53rd launch of this year for SpaceX. NROL-146 also marks the NRO's 69th launch since public disclosure of launches, which began back in December 1996. Before getting into the mission details, we have some news for you regarding the postponement of some launches. Firstly, the crew flight test of Boeing Starliner spacecraft is no longer targeting Saturday, May 25th. Starliner crew flight test is postponed yet again. The next possible launch opportunity is still being discussed. Meanwhile, Rocket Lab's 48th Electron launch with Ready, Aim, Pre-Fire mission, launching NASA's Pre-Fire CubeSat payload, is postponed from 22nd May to 25th May due to bad weather conditions. Also, Starlink achieved its first video call on X through Starlink direct-to-cell capability satellites from unmodified mobile phones. Starlink is expecting to go live with T-Mobile later this year. You can see on your screen how the video call went through. Now just a heads up, it's me running the show for our launches, so if we hit any technical snags, hang tight. But don't worry, I will do my best to walk you through Falcon 9 rocket launch happening in just 46 minutes from now and counting. Now let's get back to today's mission. So far, SpaceX reports that the weather is looking great for today's Falcon 9 launch opportunity and the range is ready to support. We have clear skies, 5% cloud cover, but slightly foggy and a wind speed of 9 meters per hour. Weather officer giving us a 0% probability of violation. SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff time of Falcon 9 from Vandenberg at 4 a.m. Eastern Time, which will be 1 a.m. Pacific Time and 8 a.m. UTC for our friends joining from around the globe. We hope that they are able to launch on time and not have to push too far. But if for some reason we do not launch today, we do have an additional opportunity tomorrow, that is Thursday, May 23rd, with launch window opening at 1:14 a.m. Pacific Time, which will be 4:14 a.m. Eastern Time. Now we have a request for you. If you haven't already, please like this video to help YouTube to do its job to bring in more space fans and rocket enthusiasts to this live coverage. Now let's talk about today's payload. This will be the first operational launch of NRO's new proliferated architecture. This is the first batch of NRO's new imaging satellite constellation built by SpaceX and Northrop Grumman. The satellites were built under a classified $1.8 billion contract awarded by the NRO in 2021 to SpaceX and Northrop Grumman. Further payload details for this mission is unknown due to the classified nature of the NRO. We don't know about how many satellites will launch on this NRO mission or the projected size of new constellation. But the NRO's principal deputy director previously said 6 launches are projected in 2024 for the NRO's future proliferated architecture of small satellites. On your screen, you can see some of the old NRO mission payload images. But as of today's mission, we don't have any images to show you guys. Hello Fairmaid, welcome back. We are doing great. I hope you are doing good. Last time we talked, you were busy with something. Hope you are doing well and everything is going good at your end. Thanks for joining us. Now moving on, let's have a look at today's booster supporting the mission NROL-146. This booster is with a tail number 1071. It's quite a mature booster with 15 previous flights in its record, including missions like NROL-87, NROL-85, Sara 1, SWAT, Transporter 8, Transporter 9, and 9 Starlink missions. Now awaiting its 16th flight, just 41 minutes away. This booster with tail number 1071 has flown all its previous 15 flights only from Space Launch Complex 4 East. So with today's launch, it will have 16 launches all from Pad 4 East. The booster's inaugural flight was with NROL-87 back in 2022. Today's mission marks 3 NRO missions supported by this booster so far. Previously, with Starlink Group 6-59 launch on May 17 from Cape Canaveral, SpaceX achieved a record. For the first time, a Falcon booster with tail number 1062 launched for its 21st time. Currently, other boosters with tail number 1060 and 1061 have 20 launches so far as their milestones. Now let's have a look at the bar graphs of Falcon 9 launches this year so far. Before today's launch, SpaceX has completed 51 launches of Falcon 9 so far this year as part of its milestone with Starlink Group 659 mission launch. SpaceX hit a big milestone this year, 50th launch with previous Starlink 8-7 mission. That's just 2 more than half of last year's Falcon 9 launches, which totaled 49. This year's count already surpasses the total number of Falcon 9 launches from all the years leading up to 2021, and SpaceX is now getting close to matching 2022's launches being made. Now with today's launch, the bar graph depicts 52 Falcon 9 launches so far this year. SpaceX already done half as many launches as they did all of last year, and it's only been 4 months and 22 days. If they keep this up, they are on track to hit 140 to 148 launches by the end of the year. It's obvious SpaceX is pushing hard towards their big goals. We are currently at T minus 37 minutes and 50. We are currently at T minus 37 minutes and 40 seconds into the countdown at SpaceX is awaiting for its next mission, NROL-146 mission. As we move through the countdown, we want to thank all of you joining us live. We really appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, please like this video to help YouTube's algorithm bring in more space fans and rocket enthusiasts. Also, it will be so kind of you subscribing to us. We are super grateful for your support. A big thanks to our amazing YouTube community joining us today. We are truly thankful for every one of you on this live stream. Your support means the world to us. Thank you all. Now let's go ahead as we progress through the countdown and review the milestones that lie ahead of us on this on this Vandenberg flight. At T-minus 38 minutes, the countdown kicks off when the SpaceX launch director gives the go for start of propellant load. If everything checks out, propellant loading begins at T-minus 30 minutes with RP-1 rocket grade kerosene being loaded into the first and second stages of Falcon 9. At the same time, LOX load, that is super chill liquid oxygen, gets loaded into the first stage. Then at T-minus 16 minutes, the next big event is the start of liquid oxygen loading for second stage. At T-minus 7 minutes, the chill down of 9 Merlin engines starts. This means a small amount of liquid oxygen flows through the pipes and pumps to protect the engines from thermal shocks during their ignition. At about 6 minutes before liftoff, the first stage kerosene tank should be full. In a T-minus 4.5 minutes, the strong back retract sequence begins. The process begins with clamp arms underneath the payload fairings opening up, followed by the transport ejector or strong back reclining about 13 degrees away from Falcon 9 as it is a Vandenberg launch. It remains in that position until liftoff. It's when it rapidly pulls back to clear the way for Falcon 9's vertical ascent. So the strong back positioned alongside the vehicle, also referred as transport ejector, fulfills multiple functions. It supplies propellants, provides air conditioning, pressurization gases, and electrical power. Additionally, it transports the Falcon 9 to launch pad and positions it for the launch. At T-minus 3 minute mark, the first stage liquid oxygen loading should be complete, followed by the second stage liquid oxygen loading wrapping up at T-minus 2 minute mark. At that point, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully fueled with 1 million pounds of propellant. Now at T-minus 1 minute mark, the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. In the final 60-second countdown, the control of flight system, that is launch sequence, is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers. If everything looks good, at T-minus 45 seconds mark, the launch director will give the final go for Falcon 9 liftoff. Now at T-minus 3 seconds, the engine ignition sequence start command being issued by onboard engine controller. Finally, we have T0, where we will have the liftoff. If all 9 Merlin 1D engines ignite and are healthy, flight computer will give the command for hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9. Currently targeting at 4 AM Eastern Time, 1 PM Pacific Time, which will be 8 AM UTC on Wednesday 22nd May. Upon checking, it looks that the liftoff time is currently on time. There is no postponement or delayed time from SpaceX end for the mission launch. We're keeping an eye over it. Meanwhile, let's briefly step through the trajectory for today's mission with NROL-146 classified payload on board the reconnaissance satellites. Falcon 9 will lift off from Space Launch Complex 4 East from Vandenberg Space Force Base, California, heading into its designated orbit, indicated by that green line on your screen. Although the specific orbit, trajectory, and inclination are not known for the classified nature of NRO launch. The red line you see indicates where Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later leaving California's coast. This is going to be a off-the-land landing, a drone ship landing using autonomous spaceport drone ship. For today, it is, of course, I Still Love You here on West Coast, which means that the first stage booster with tail number 1071 flying for 16th time will return heading out to the drone ship. Now, currently there are 3 in SpaceX drone ship fleet. We expect the addition of a 4th drone ship likely by the end of this year or early next year. Of the 3 drone ships, just read the instructions and a shortfall of Gravitars are stationed in Florida, while of course I Still Love You is here in Pacific Ocean, California. The 2 halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly further downrange from where the first stage lands on the drone ship. After they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachutes. SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve them from Pacific water. SpaceX manufactures the fairing in-house with the total cost of 2 halves is nearly $6 million. So it's of no wonder that SpaceX aims to recover the fairings for repetitive use, mirroring their approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability and sustainability. SpaceX has dedicated years of effort to the recovery and reuse of payload fairing. You can see on your screen how a fairing recovery looks like. Today's fairing recovery will be performed by Go Beyond. SpaceX other recovery vessels, Bob and Doug, currently awaiting its next assignment. Meanwhile, we have some updates that Doug departed Port Canaveral to support an upcoming Starlink mission. SpaceX has named its 2 new recovery ships, Bob and Doug, after NASA astronauts, and the first crew SpaceX launched for NASA under commercial crew program, Bob Bacon and Doug Hurley, on the Demo 2 mission to the International Space Station back in 2020. Now here is a video of a fairing half as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. You can see a creation of halo around it as it enters the Earth's atmosphere due to friction. This looks cool. Now let's have a quick look through the launch timeline for the Falcon 9 passing these events following liftoff. At t plus 1 minute and 8 seconds, Falcon 9 will pass through max Q, a point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Then there will be a couple of different milestones in rapid succession. First will be the first stage main engine cutoff, MECO, at t plus 2 minutes and 27 seconds, followed by a major milestone within 3 seconds at t plus 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Stage separation will occur where first stage and second stage will separate from each other. After 7 seconds later, the second stage MVAC engine will ignite for first time during the flight, that is SES-1, at t plus 2 minutes and 37 seconds. Coming up next at t plus 3 minutes and 2 seconds mark, Falcon 9's payload fairing will be jettisoned. At t plus 6 minutes and 6 seconds, the first stage entry burn will begin, lasting for 21 seconds up to 6 minutes and 27 seconds mark, ending the entry burn for the first stage. At this time around, we will hear the callouts for stage 1 FTS, that is flight termination systems, being saved. The stage 1 FTS is saved, or one can say flight termination systems are turned off or disabled after the re-entry burn, while the stage 2 FTS is saved after the orbital insertion burn. We will also hear the callouts for stage 1 being transonic and stage 2 being in terminal guidance. Next major milestone at t plus 7 minutes and 51 seconds, the first stage landing burn will begin, which will orient and set up the first stage for SpaceX iconic precision landing. At t plus 8 minutes and 13 seconds, the first stage will land on droneship Of Course I Still Love You. This will be the SpaceX 310th landing overall. The timings for other events such as second stage MVAC engine shutdown, SECO-1, second stage engine start to SES-2 and SECO-2, which will set up the satellite deployment, are not being shared publicly due to the classified nature of today's launch. Here is a short time-lapse video of onboard view of Falcon 9 first stage from liftoff to a land landing. As we have liftoff, surpassing the max Q point, we will witness the stage separation. Now following that, the vehicle will rise towards the apogee before deploying the hypersonic grid fins to position and reorient the first stage for landing. You will notice intermittent bursts of nitrogen gas for altitude control. Now then there will be an entry burn as we re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. Finally, the landing burn will commence with landing legs deployed for a smooth and successful landing. Now coming to some stats related to today's mission launch. The launch marks 347th SpaceX overall launch. This is the 336th Falcon 9 launch to date. This will be the 16th flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster with tail number 1071. It is the 52nd Falcon 9 launch of 2024 so far and is SpaceX's 53rd overall launch of this year, including the third integrated flight test of Starship. This is SpaceX's 281st Falcon booster reflight to date, that is the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. 77th orbital launch for SpaceX launching from Pad 4 East. Also, this is the 144th overall orbital launch from this pad, that is Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg. Now moving on to some reusability statistics. This launch marks 267th Falcon 9 booster reflight to date. Today we will have the 91st landing on Of Course I Still Love You drone ship. This will be the 16th landing of first stage booster with tail number 1071. With this mission's landing, which paves the way to the 242nd overall drone ship landing, marking 293rd Falcon 9 landing to date and 310th SpaceX overall booster landing to date. Now here is a thing worth mentioning: among the drone ships, the shortfall of Gravitas has a flawless record with 0 unsuccessful landing attempts and 70 successful landings. In comparison, Just Read the Instruction has encountered 3 unsuccessful landings with 81 successful landings, while Of Course I Still Love You has experienced 7 unsuccessful landings and 90 successful landings. All these stats which I mentioned are not including today's mission. This gives a shortfall of Gravitas the lead in successful and clean drone ship landing attempts. Now let's have a look into some key stats for SpaceX launch in this year, including today's mission. So far, SpaceX has a total of 53 launches, and out of those, 16 are non-Starlink missions, including one from today's mission. They have reused boosters for 50 times in those launches, showing their commitment to sustainability and reusability. Now let's look into the geographical distribution. They have 35 launches from East Coast, with 11 from Launch Complex 39A, that is from Kennedy Space Center, and 24 from Space Launch Complex 40, that is Cape Canaveral. On West Coast, 17 launches, all from Space Launch Complex 4 East, including one from today. Plus, there was one launch from Gulf Coast at Starbase back in Texas for Starship third integrated flight test. tentatively we will be having the fourth integrated flight test of Starship in upcoming 2 weeks. Now, as of for landings, they have nailed it 51 times. Most of them were on drone ships, with 39 successful landings, 14 on Of Course I Still Love You, 10 on Just Read the Instructions, and 15 on a shortfall of gravitas, including one from today. And for ground landings, they have pulled off 12, with 8 on landing zone 1, only 1 landings being made on landing zone 2, and 3 on landing zone 4 respectively. Now moving on to this year's orbital launches, including today's one depicted in a pie chart. The United States is dominating with 60 orbital launches. The launch comprising a substantial 61.2% of the global total. Recently on 19th May, we have a suborbital launch of Blue Origin New Shepard NS-25 crewed mission. China follows closely behind, accounting for 24.5% with 24 launches, while Russia maintains a steady pace with 7 launches, with a recent Soyuz 2.1B launch of a classified payload on May 17, making 7.1% of the pie, while Japan has 3 launches so far. Both India and Iran have entered the fray with 2 launches each. While it's a close competition, but the United States and China are undeniably spearheading this year's space exploration endeavors. So now we have this pie chart showing 2024 orbital launches by rocket variations, including today's launch. Well, let me break it down for you. The green slice of the pie, that's the Falcon 9, a real heavy hitter this year with 52 launches, making up more than half of the whole pie as 53.6% and leading. Then we got this purple slice labeled others, which is a mix of different rockets, including rockets like rocket launches like Delta IV Heavy, Starship, Vulcan Centaur, ISRO's GSLV Mark II, PSLV DL, Japan's H3 and H2A, Iran's Simorgh and Kayam 100, Russia's Angara A5, China's Gravity, and others. The names are not exhaustive. They got 28 launches in total, which is 27.8% of the pie. That's not bad. Next up, we have the Rocket Lab's Electron with 5 launches, making 5.2% of the pie, and Soyuz 2 rockets with 6 launches so far this year with 6.2% of the pie. Rocket Lab's 48 Electron launch with Ready Aim Pre-Fire mission launching NASA's Pre-Fire CubeSat payload is postponed from 22nd May to 25th May due to severe weather conditions. Last but not the least, we got China's CZ-2D and CZ-2C rockets. The CZ-2D has 4 launches, that is 4.1% of the pie, and CZ-2C has 3 launches with 3.1% of the pie. There might be smaller slices of the pie, but every launch counts. Now we are very much close to the webcast to begin. Before that, let's look into the chat. Welcome back, Pop Tripika. just watched an ISS fly by. That's good that you got to see an ISS fly by to see, and now you are having a cherry on the topping. You can say another launch of Falcon 9. We appreciate that you love the pie charts. Thanks for joining us up again back today. We hope you will enjoy the stream, and we would like to extend our gratitude to everyone joining us live today. Now, as we await for the webcast to begin, we are just T-minus 10 minutes from the liftoff. Today's mission is NROL-146 for the National Reconnaissance Office, also referred to as the NRO.
We are looking at a live shot of the moon over Vandenberg this evening with really clear skies at altitude. The Falcon 9 rocket that's carrying tonight's payload is awaiting liftoff from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California in about 9 minutes from now. Tonight's mission is the first of 3 launches this week from all 3 launch pads in California and Florida. Hey everyone, my name is Soumya Srivastava and I am a structures engineer here at SpaceX. Today's mission carries a national security payload that is designed, built, and operated by the National Reconnaissance Office, or the NRO. Tonight's mission marks SpaceX's 347th overall launch, the 52nd launch of 2024, and the 5th NRO launch on a Falcon 9. This mission continues NRO's development of cutting-edge capability that deliver critical information that can only be obtained from the vantage point of space. The range and vehicle are currently green, and we're on track for an on-time launch at 1 a.m. Pacific time. It's also worth noting that we won't be showing any Stage 2 or deployment views at the request of our customer. So for now, let's meet our vehicle and learn a little bit more about the most flown U.S. launch vehicle ever, our Falcon 9 rocket. Falcon 9 is a 2-stage rocket that is designed and manufactured by SpaceX for the reliable and safe transport of people and payloads into Earth orbit and beyond. It's also the first and currently the only orbital class rocket that's capable of reflight. The entire vehicle stands at 229 feet tall, or about the height of a 21-story building. The bottom two-thirds of the vehicle is the first stage, which is commonly referred to as the booster. And not only is the first stage the largest part of the rocket, but it's also the portion of the rocket that we attempt to land on either one of our drone ships or back on land for future reuse. Reusability is a critical part of our goal of making life multiplanetary, and every mission provides valuable information on repeated launch and reusability. Reusability also allows us to refly the most expensive parts of the rocket, which in turn drives down the cost of access to space.
Now, the same booster which is supporting today's mission did supported NROL-87 and NROL-85 missions previously launched from SpaceX back in 2022. Now we'll be launching today's payload into space.
While Stage 2 continues to its target altitude, where it will deploy today's payloads. After stage separation, the booster will be returning to our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently located in the Pacific Ocean. And to date, we have landed a Falcon booster 309 times. So through the clouds, let's turn our attention back to Falcon 9 on the pad today. Above the first stage is the second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine that ignites after the first stage separates. And that is what will carry the NRO payload into orbit. Located is the payload fairing, which is the large barrel structure at the top of the rocket. At 17 feet in diameter, the carbon composite fairing protects satellites on their way to orbit and are jettisoned around 3 minutes into flight. The fairing halves supporting today's mission are both flight proven, with one half flying for its 12th time and the other half flying for its 3rd time. After separation from the second stage, both fairing halves will return to Earth and will be recovered by our recovery team.
Retract.
So next up, the transporter erector, or TE, will retract away from the vehicle, and that is the large truss structure you see there next to the rocket. So shortly, we should see the clamp arms opening up around the second stage, and then the TE will begin to pull away from the rocket slightly. And then at T0, the ground hydraulic systems will pull the TE even further away from Falcon 9 as it lifts off.
Now here I would like to mention the reclining process of strong back is a little bit different here at Vandenberg compared to Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral. There we recline the strong back a couple of degrees, but here we recline it to 13 degrees.
So the first stage is connected to a launch mount at the base of the TE, but the structure is hinged and will retract away from the vehicle in preparation for launch. And you may hear it referred to as a strong back from the launch team, and it does a lot of heavy lifting in the lead up to launch. We use the TE to roll the rocket out to the pad and raise it to its vertical launch position. And the TE is what we use to route the vehicle's fluids, power, and telemetry umbilicals from the ground systems to the rocket and payload until Falcon 9 switches to internal power and clears the pad. And at this point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Both first and second stages should finish loading propellant about a minute apart from each other, with the first stage finishing up right around now at
Stage 1 launch load complete.
There, we heard that call out right on time, and we will expect to hear that the second stage will be fully loaded at around T-minus 2 minutes.
Now, as mentioned before, today's weather is a little foggy. We are currently 2 minutes mark. Everything looks fine. Now we will get a call out for LOX load being completed on the second
Stage
stage.
2 LOX load complete.
There's a great call out right on time for stage 2 LOX load completion. And the NRO payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is currently tracking no issues on the rocket.
Closeout has started.
Now call out for grand gas closeout, where we bleed the pressure off that cold gas when it reacts with the moist humid air, which gives you that nice white cloud, an indicator of launch upcoming. Next event T minus 1 minute, we should hear the call out that Falcon 9 flight computers are in startup and controlling the rocket for the remainder of the countdown.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Great call out, which means that Falcon 9 is now on internal power.
LD is go for launch.
And there, the LD give the final go for launch. So let's sit back and watch.
Now SpaceX launch director giving go for the launch.
T minus 30 seconds.
We are coming up on T minus 30 seconds. All system continues to remain go for the launch of Falcon 9 and NROL-146 mission.
T minus 15 seconds. T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we have liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower. That ignition sound was quite a boom. A good call out there. Power telemetry and propulsion is nominal.
So at T plus 30 seconds, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Slick 4E and throttled down to prepare for max Q at T plus 1 minute. And max Q is the moment in flight with the highest amount of aerodynamic pressure and stress on the vehicle.
We are into the throttle bucket, where we are throttling down the 9 Merlin engines as we prepare for the period of maximum dynamic stress coming up.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
We have exited Mach 1 on Falcon 9. The Merlin engines have throttled back up to full power, Falcon 9 going faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
There we just had max Q. So with that call out, we now have 3 events coming up in quick succession, starting with MECO, followed by Stage Sep, and then SES-1. MECO, or main engine cutoff, is where all 9 M1D engines shut off to slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation, which is where the first and second stages separate from one another. Then stage 2 will continue to second engine start 1, or SES-1. And that is where the single MVAC engine lights up and propels the second stage to orbit. In addition to these 3 major events, the fairing halves will separate less than a minute after SES-1, so keep an eye out for all of those events.
Vehicle is following a nominal
up
trajectory
in around 30 seconds from now.
Right now we have started to chill down
And
the
as a
MVAC
reminder,
engine.
we will not have any stage 2 views of separation at the request of our customer.
As I was saying, right now we have started to chill down the MVAC engine on the second stage prior to its ignition just after stage separation. Coming up 3 events in rapid succession.
Stage separation confirmed.
And we have confirmation of main engine cutoff and stage separation, SES-1, coming up in a few seconds. There it is.
And as you just saw in that view, we had successful main engine cutoff, successful stage separation, and an ignition
We
of
are
second engine.
expecting to hear the call out for fairing separation in a couple seconds from now, but we won't see this. We will be attempting to retrieve these fairing halves once they fall back down to Earth using our recovery ship, Go Beyond.
The first stage nitrogen thrusters are
Fairing
now
separation
beginning.
confirmed.
And we just confirmed fairing separation. And you also heard and maybe even saw those three events that happened back to back, which again were MECO, stage separation, SES-1, followed about 30 seconds later by fairing separation. We'll be attempting to retrieve these fairing halves again today back on Earth with our recovery vessel Go Beyond.
The stage nitrogen thrusters is now beginning to reorient the first stage, and the flight computers has commanded the 4 hypersonic titanium grid fins to slowly being deployed. Now the stage separation is successful. Now due to the night time, we are not able to see any views. Both vehicles are on a normal trajectory. Till now we had a great launch. First stage has done its job so far. It's on its way back. Second stage is running at full power. We are getting great views from space. Sorry, we are not getting any good views from space. And we are getting ready now for first stage to come back to droneship landing site. During this portion of flight, stage 1 is using nothing but the grid fins for steering as it re-enters to Earth, and these grid fins orient the Falcon 9 during re-entry, and they help to guide the rocket during the descent.
And that soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses, and with each flight, that soot continues to build up on the outside of the vehicle.
Now we are getting some views from the first stage as it descends back. As mentioned before, occasionally you
That
will
entry burn should be coming up in about 20 seconds from now.
see on the first stage nitrogen gas bursts for altitude control.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there's confirmation we have just lit 3 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage.
So entry burn has begun, and we have lit engines 1, 5, and 9 to slow down the vehicle.
You can see now we are rapidly slowing the vehicle down as it enters the Earth's atmosphere. This burn should last just around 21 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And we just completed our entry burn. And coming up next in about a minute will be landing burn.
There is confirmation of shutdown of entry burn on the
Stage
first
1
stage.
FTS has saved.
The Merlins on the first stage are optimized for
Both
sea
vehicles
level.
continue to follow nominal trajectories.
And these achieve around 190,000 pounds of thrust each during ascent and descent. And for landing burn, we use just one of these, engine 9, to slow the vehicle down just before touching down on our drone ship.
Actually, for the landing burn,
Stage 1 transonic.
the center
But coming up
E9
next, we'll
Stage
shut
2
down
FTS is saved.
our MVAC engine on the second stage, which will be followed quickly by our landing burn on the first stage.
So what I was saying that for landing burn, we ignite the center E9 engine. We got the call out for stage 1 being
Stage 1
transonic.
landing burn.
Now as we ignited the center E9 engine, we are slowing down the vehicle very rapidly. Should be seeing those landing legs deploy any seconds now.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
An awesome
Stage 2 has entered terminal guidance.
An awesome view of our stage 1 that is now landed back on our drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You. This was the 16th launch and landing for this first stage, and this landing marks SpaceX's 310th recovery of an orbital class rocket, including first stage landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy.
Now as you see on your screen, the Falcon 9 first stage has successfully landed on drone ship, making this the 16th landing for this booster, and it also marked 310th overall landing of a first stage booster. Now since we just finished the landing of the first stage, at the request of the NRO, we are concluding the webcast coverage early today. We want to thank you all for joining us with today's launch, and we hope you all enjoy the rest of the week. Now looking at the chat, thanks Fairmate for being with us for such long time. We're really happy that you enjoyed the stream. Also, we will extend our gratitude to Bob Tripika. Thank you for your perpetual support. Now we hope you enjoyed the stream. Once again, thanks for joining us, showing your such patience, love and understanding, staying till the end. We are glad to have you all here with us. This is AstroYonder Live and me, Dipta, signing off for now, and we will see you next time.